Guys, I thought I would come out tonight. We just got home from going to a poultry auction and decided to grab a bite to eat off the mountain. And I'm getting a lot of questions on a certain topic, which I thought, well, I might as well just address it with a quick video. So what we're going to talk about in this video, and I've come out to the barn, it's dark. Remember when I told you that every time we go off the mountain, you know, I always put my animals up. If I know I'm going anywhere further than just down the road, I always put my goats up. And I have a little latch. I lock my barn. My chickens can still get in and out. But anyway, so we've gotten home. So everybody's in and safe. And make sure everybody's waters and foods are still good. And check on everybody. We do this every single night. When the sun starts to set or right after dark, depending on what's going on, this is what we do. But I've been getting a lot of inboxes with the same particular question. So I thought that I would take the time to address it because as time goes on, I am more and more impressed, by the people that live around me. So the question that I'm getting a lot or very similar type question is, hi, I'm so-and-so, and they introduce themselves, and they talk about moving to particularly Appalachia. I think there is a very big attraction to moving to somewhere in Appalachia. I think because of there's a lot of land available. And for a lot of folks, it's very rural. And for a lot of folks, it's very affordable, which all of these things are true. And let's just be honest, it's beautiful. So let me explain to you, and I'm going to do it the best way that I know how, and there's really no good way or bad way, and there's no not a politically correct way to say what I'm going to say, okay? So I'm just going to be honest. I do consider myself, quote, a country girl. I've never considered myself to be Southern. I do believe there is a major distinction between the two. But I grew up in a city. For the most part. Now, not city like we're talking like, New York or Atlanta or anything like that, okay? But, now it's quite, it's pretty big. I don't know what your standards are, so I have to speak in my own way. To me, when you've got, 500,000 people living in a city or more, that's pretty significant, okay, or around that within the areas. The thing is I discovered very quickly that it used to be a lot of folks that they were from an area that's quite urban. They could move, 10 miles out or whatever, and that you still find that old-timey farming, rural mindset. And as we started on our journey, as far as trying to move out of the city, that obviously was the first places we looked for, that's where we went first. We went, and as we continued to search for land or search for property and figure out more and more what we wanted as far as where we wanted to live and raise our children or homestead, that wasn't cutting the mustard anymore. So we have moved quite a ways away, okay? It's interesting because I've had folks that will come and visit, for example, my grandmother or somebody of a much older generation, and when they come and visit, this common thing always came out, and it was, I feel like I've stepped back 50 to 75 years in time. And that literally is what it's like where I live. I do not live in or near even really a town, okay? It's more like a community type deal. We don't live in a community like Mennonite, or Amish or anything like that, but I'm just saying, it's an effort to get to a post office, okay? Or to a grocery store. And at first that was a shock for us because, we're used to hopping in the car and we're within, 2 miles of Walmart or a Target or a Starbucks or a Superstore or anything you wanted within just like 4 to 6 miles around you. Anything you ever wanted was there. We don't live that life anymore. And when I moved here, I did not realize how cityfied that I was. I mean, it made sense to me if you told me. I'd be like, yeah. let me give you some hints. If you are moving to a rural community, I'm talking a real rural community, okay? I'm speaking in terms of what I know, okay? Everything's a little bit different. This is not a one-size-fits-all type deal. And I'm also speaking in terms of what I know in my area of Appalachia, okay? So, Appalachia is quite big. But I can tell you that you have to understand the mindset is totally different. And yes, that is my coonhound barking. You think that could happen in a neighborhood? No. So you have to understand exactly where you're moving and why you're moving there and who lives there. I'm not talking about from a safety standpoint. I'm not talking about any of those factors within itself. I'm talking about how those people live. And it's really easy for a lot of folks that are not from the South, or especially from Appalachia in particularly, to mock the area. And, we don't really take that serious. We really don't. We kind of joke about our, not having any teeth and being barefoot. I am actually barefoot about, a third of the time. But, all of those things, well, a lot of those things are true. And we have a certain type of humor. So somebody's like, so you've moved to the city and you've moved to the country. You talk about all these people. How did you fit in? Well, I think you have to figure out who you are and what you want first and foremost, okay? In the area that I moved to, we did a lot of searching as far as we would drive around a lot. And, you're going to have certain areas that are just like anywhere else, but there's a lot of churches in my community. Now, some of them may be 200 years old and only have 10 people go to them, but they're there and people go to it. A lot of the folks that are here in my area, born and raised here for generations. That is not an exaggeration, okay? We are city folk and we are newcomers. Even though we've just come, hour and a half down the road and we're still we consider ourselves kind of country people. Or my husband, for example, grew up extremely rural. None of those things matter. Let me tell you something about folks that are from Appalachia. I'm not talking about the ones that live in the towns and in the cities. I'm talking about the true grit, real deal Appalachian folk. They are probably some of the most genuine people, number one, you're ever going to meet. They are God-fearing. They are very patriotic. The ones that are truly what I would consider the hardest working are completely in the know of what's going on in the world and in the country. They are not stupid. Now, are they necessarily all of them college educated or even necessarily have a high school diploma? Nope. But it would shock you, the ingenuity of these people. I have been shocked multiple times, and I have been impressed over 1,000 times by what these people can do on a daily basis. Okay? No, they don't have a law degree from Harvard, and they can't, debate that. But if you have any type of issue with your house, with your farm, with your animals, your food supply, and a lot of this takes some high-level critical thinking skills and hard labor and a lot of just figuring. They can do every bit of it. So, I get along really well with a lot of folks around here. I think because, I don't want to say just because we're good people or they like us or because we try to be likable. It took some time, but those people figure out real quick. They know when a new person comes in the community. It was really interesting because I would, go off the mountain and find, when we first moved here, and I would go to a grocery store, and they knew a new face when it came in. And, honey, these people knew where I lived. and they would make comments. Not bad. I'm just saying they had me figured long before I knew who they were. They're very smart. And I think what they look for, I'm talking about the true pioneers of the region. Very successful people. You know how it's that like millionaire next door mentality, you'd never know it. Okay? I mean, these people know how to do it, okay? They know how to live, they know how to make it, they know how to survive, they know how to get ahead. And they, and they're very, very humble. They could probably afford, many of you watching this video that probably have done very well, they could probably buy you out with cash 10 times over. I'm not joking when I say that. They really are successful. But they grew up in such a way that those things that's not what they live for. There's a major sense of pride, and they know whether or not you have that sense of pride. And if you do, then they welcome you with open arms. When we first moved here, I cannot even begin to tell you. I got to a point where I would almost cry about it because it was so heartwarming. Folks would pull in the driveway and they baked you fresh bread and they brought you a quart of honey that's from their farm and roasts and eggs and invite you to church. They're going to invite you to church. If you don't have a sense of religion, you do not need to move to a community like that unless you have a thick backbone, because this is their life, okay? And, if you are not that way, well, they'll accept you for that. But at the same time, that's what they live by, okay? A major moral code, strong back, strong mind. So I encourage you to be yourself, but I most encourage you to move to an area where you are like-minded. And if you move to an area where this is the type of lifestyle that these people live, then you need to know that going in. If you don't want to be accepted in the community, I'm not telling you to do or be something that you aren't or don't believe or whatever. I mean, I pray you do, but I understand you have the right and your own prerogative. But I cannot express to you how wonderful it is. I mean, I've got folks living around me that are farmers. Their house has probably been paid for 30 to 50 years. And they work so hard to keep everything so great as far as within their farm. And if they know you're starting out, they'll come over and talk to you and say, where are you from and why'd you move here and what's your goals? Okay. And the next day, a tractor's going to show up and he'll bale your entire field for you for free. Seriously, that's what happened. They'll show up and they'll offer, it's unbelievable. These people do exist. They exist abundantly, actually. They want their freedom. They want their independence. They want to live in a respectful community. They'll have you figured, I promise. And if that's what you're looking for, then in my experience, that's what you're going to find in the true heart of what is Appalachia. Okay? These folks have a strong mixed cultural background, particularly in the area that I'm from and live in even now. There's a heavy influence of Scots-Irish and Cherokee. You can quickly look at the background of both of those cultures and then the mixture of the two, and you have got some fiercely independent, strong-minded people. So think about these things. Don't let it intimidate you. Embrace it. It's a wonderful thing. It also goes hand in hand with your evolution. We are very much changing. My children are very much changing, and we're just so thankful for that. So I hope this helps. It's a long video, but it's a big topic and it's an important topic. So hope y'all are having a good night. If you have more questions, we have more videos coming up. As soon as I can get them up, I sure will. So I hope this was the answer you're looking for, because folks are very proud up here. So y'all have a good night.